Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. This is our second session, our listening sessions. We had one in Boise last night, and despite the weather, we had good attendance. There's some hail and rain, and there was like a big flood under my car when I left the hotel. We really do appreciate you attending tonight. We are the elected board, and we're going to talk about all the board members in a minute. I became the chair of the board in November, and I was very committed that we reach out to the community, and that has been my goal. And so these listening sessions, that's the result of the board and the staff wanting to listen and engage with the community throughout the two counties. We're going to do a very short PowerPoint, and after that, we're going to you guys can ask questions, and we can respond, but it's going to be kind of like a dialogue. But we really want you guys to ask questions, and after the PowerPoint, I'm sure you're going to have several questions. Can we go to the next slide? This, the future sessions, we have, including tonight, we have 6 more sessions. You might want to explain the streaming Facebook page. Is that? We will. Okay. All right. This one you want? Next, yeah, right there. As I said, we are an elected board. Before we started, I said, you know, that picture is 9 years old, and we need to probably get a new picture. Emily Walton is our vice chair. Stan Bastian from Eagle is a board member. Mary Nyland. Mary Nyland is one of the original board members, like me. I think we're the only ones, right, now? Okay. Skip Smizer is our newest board member. He's from Parma, and I'm sure we will see him tomorrow night when we go to Parma. I want you to understand that it's a 2-county district. We are elected at large. So, you know, Mary is from Canyon County. I'm from Ada County. Emily's from Ada County. But we are elected at large. So I represent, all of us represent the 2 counties. And before I introduce our moderator, I want to also thank the whole CWI staff. You guys have just been wonderful, you know, getting all this stuff ready, and I mean, the overtime, you guys, you're very dedicated, so thank you. I also want to introduce Bert Glandon, the president. Craig Brown, the vice president. Let's see. Mitch Minetti. And why don't we just introduce? Yep. Okay. All right. And I'm going to introduce Mark Browning, who is the vice president of communications and government relations, to go through the PowerPoint. And thank you for all that you've been doing for us.
I haven't done anything, it's all these folks right here. So, but thank you, I appreciate that. I want to just go back very quickly. Try to use my parent voice. So I'm going to imagine that Zach is my young teenage son that needs constant input and direction. So I'm talking to him all the time. But love that folks are here tonight. For those that are joining us live on Facebook, we'll have each one of these streamed live on Facebook. There's also an online forum where you can go and That's on the website, CWIDifference.com. You can also navigate that through our regular webpage, CWIDo.cc. The other sessions that will be held will be at Parma High School, Middleton High School, Caldwell, Eagle, and Cuna High School. The Meridian session is at City Hall in the council chamber, so they're also posted on the website. So, Mark touched on the Board of Trustees who are locally elected. The point I want to make here is, as we just set up our conversation tonight, and the whole point here is that we have a dialogue. It's not, occasions to standing in front of the classroom and disseminating information. The other part, and I'm sure she would agree to this, is that when you have a good dialogue, you learn as much from your students as you give out. And what we're hoping is to actually be a little selfish tonight and learn twice as much from you as what we're going to put out in front of you. There we go. We all right now? Boy, that's a lot better. Thank you. Although that voice doesn't sound good, does it? These 5 folks are your neighbors. They live next door to you. They live in your neighborhoods. Their kids go to your schools. They're one of us. They don't get paid for this position. This is an elected position with no compensation. So they really are here for the good of the mission, which is to help give our students a better path. So we want to just briefly set up the road, how we got here tonight. May 17th of 2017. It started back, this was the landscape in 2006. There were 7 institutions of higher learning in the state. 2 full-on community colleges, College of Southern Idaho and North Idaho College in Coeur d'Alene. 3 universities, ISU, BSU, and U of I. And a 2-year technical school in Idaho Falls, Eastern Idaho Technical College, and a 4-year, what we used to call back when I was a kid, a normal school. It was a teacher's school, right? So the vote comes in 2007. CWI is established, right? 70-some%. We opened up for classes in 2009. Wow, quick turn, right? 1,200 students. A year later, we have 17,000 students. Let that one sink in for a moment. 2011, the first of our now 5-time national debate champions. I bet you didn't know that. We had a 5-time national champion. I mean, we get all this hype about football, right? And I love football. Who's home of the 5-time national champions right here? I think we'll send a memo to Dr. Custra. Remind him of that. 2012, we had the wonderful gift of the Micron Center. A lot of people worked very hard with the Albertson Foundation. The Micron Foundation came together to help provide a beautiful facility to train career and technical education, and we use it for that and a whole lot more. We're over 21,000 students at that point. 2013, we start articulation agreements with those 3 major universities in that 4-year normal school, so our students can transfer and go on. Those credits and degrees that they get here are fully transferable. 23,500 students. 2014, we have to increase the amount of space that we lease to accommodate all these students. Now, write that one down, because that's going to be a common theme of tonight. Lease space to accommodate students. And we're growing and getting bigger, right? I hope you're picking that up with the compass over here. 2015, Kay was involved in a major initiative here on campus where we redesigned English and math to help with remediation. So many of our students come to us after they've been out of school for a few years. They need help getting back up to speed with English and math. We now work through that, get them on the way to go. 2016 in the fall was a very big moment for us on campus. We got our full accreditation, and that is essentially full licensure to stand on our own. We can now start our own academic programs. We don't have to operate under anybody else's umbrella. We can be more responsive to the needs of our employers and our students here in this valley versus others. 24,265. And the letter came in 2017 because nothing in higher ed arrives that quick, right? So here we are today, May 2017. 24,265 students are who we're serving. You'll see with the beautifully crafted graphs by the communications department here how the numbers are working. And if you're very quick to look, you'll see academic transfers trending down slowly, right? Career and technical is actually softening. Why is that when there's such demand for jobs? Well, there's great demand for employment. Unemployment's 3% and under. That's statistically full employment. We are growing exponentially in dual credit and in workforce. We're working very closely with our businesses and industries. Chair Dunham touched on this, that we are 2 county districts if you look at this, we've been offering classes both in Ada County and Canyon County since 2009, since we started offering classes. By residency, 53% of our students come from Ada County. We get a lot of them that drive out. Transportation is one of the issues that we're going to talk about as we go tonight. 9,500 take classes here, about 8,200 in Ada County. We have 6,200 taking classes entirely online. So, interesting, while enrollment's been softening, the amount of production coming out of the institution is actually going up. We're increasing the amount of degrees and certificates that are awarded each and every year. Okay? 1,572 awarded in 2016. We just finished graduation, but the actual end of the counting period doesn't end until the end of the summer term. So we've also added another layer within another certificate that we offer now, which is a general education certificate. So you can get core certified, get your math, get your English, get your science done. Even if you don't complete and get that associate's degree, you're core complete, and you can transfer all of those courses to any college or university here in the state. We have more degrees that are launching this fall. We're increasing our online presence. We know that students want options. Not all of them are able to come here and travel between the different locations. If you take nothing else home tonight besides 5 cookies on your way out, and please do that, know that we work very closely with partners around here, both in private industry and other government organizations and non-government organizations such as chambers of commerce. I want to just touch briefly on Western States Caterpillar. Great company, doing a lot of work, but they were stealing our students. We had to have a little talk about that. And in the conversations, they said, we love your students, but we can't wait 2 years for them. We need them now. So in working very closely with them, we took a 2-year program and got it down to 13 months. It's very intense. It's 8 to 5. It's a full-time job for these students, but when they're done at 13 months, they have that degree and they have a job waiting for them. That's the kind of great input and collaboration that we've been able to have with some of our partners around. Workforce development has been huge in this area. We're working closely for that non-credit training that's working healthcare, trades, apprenticeship. All those types of job fields are wide open, and we've got the throttle down as we go there. We touched on accreditation, and accreditation is essentially licensure for us. That's what we need in order to be able to offer federal financial aid, and that our programs are accredited so the students get the credit transcripted for that class and they take it with them. One quick point on accreditation. There's national accreditation and regional. Regional is the far tougher to get, okay? And that's what we have now through the Northwest Commission. So what's next? We have a very aggressive strategic plan that's now in place. It starts with this fiscal year 18, and it is geared towards looking for the future, and that's why we want you here tonight. That's why we need your input, right? We need to come up and help us find the right strategies for growth, for facilities. We lease facilities all over the 2 valleys to the tune of excess of $2 million a year. Our belief is that it's better to own those facilities and consolidate them for efficiency of operation. How do we get there? How do we build those facilities? How do we build the online programs and keep everything in balance? And number 3, make sure that we're fiscally sustainable, that we can continue to do this. Because it does no good for us to rush out and do a lot of this work and then 5 years from now we're in trouble. That's the last thing we want to have happen. So speaking of money, always a sensitive subject. You're not supposed to talk about it at the dinner table, right? So I hope everybody ate before they got here so that we can talk about it, right? Tuition and fees out of a $60 million budget, almost $24 million, about 40% of our total operating comes from tuition and fees. That's what the students pay, $139 a credit. By comparison, your 4-year public university here in Idaho is over $300 a credit, okay? State funds account for just under $20 million, about 35%. That's a combination of your general fund, so your sales tax that you pay, and a portion of your income tax. We'll go to that, okay? Your property taxes that you pay in Ada and Canyon County account for about 13%, $7.3 million. We generate just under $6 million on our own, either through grants that we're awarded or other self-support programs like workforce training. And then the last, statistically, about a 1.3 is other income, so what we earn out of the bookstore and some of the out-of-county revenues. So that's the revenue picture. $60 million, roughly 25,000 students. We're the best bang for the buck in Idaho. By comparison, not that we want to pick on our friends to the east with the blue field, but they have fewer students. They're about 23,000 students. Any guesses on their budget besides Craig? 100 million, 200 million? That's your homework tonight. Go home and GTS, Google that stuff. Find out where you're at. I think you'll be really surprised. So, right now, I want to invite these folks to come up here and sit down so that we can have a face-to-face conversation so we're not talking at their back, right? And then I'd like you to just pepper them with questions. I don't care if you work here or not. This is a good chance to talk to your trustees, right? And we know we have a respected member of the Fourth Estate here tonight. Thank you. So if you are ready, we would love to have the, and you guys just pass that one back and forth when you're ready. If you're ready, I'm going to bring the microphone out because we got to make sure that you're on the mic for our folks that are watching at home in their PJs. They didn't want to come out tonight. So, you want the first question? This is like a White House briefing. Everybody jumps up and down, right? Pick your favorite president. I'm not going to say current or past.
I'm not as smart as Craig. What is? Give me the answer, Coach. What's the budget?
I don't know the exact dollar, but it's north of $200 million. Yeah. So, yeah, big boy money, real money. No offense, Dr. Kessler, if you're watching, because we know you need more. So, okay.
He's watching.
Yeah, I would think so. You know, he was invited to watch. So, maybe the thing to do is, do you have questions that you'd like to ask of the audience? I'm going to have, yeah, go ahead and just give her that one.
I do. First of all, I want to thank the people that are here tonight for being here because I think that CWI is a great, great investment in people and in communities, and very, very proud of the fact that the Nampa Chamber led the initiative to start this college. So it's home. This is a building, too, that we received through the State Board of Education, and that was a great gift to us and helped us get started. But I wondered, I would just like to know for people in the room if anybody would want to weigh into this, CWI staff, employees, anybody else that's here, as to why you think the bond failed. I think that's the most important thing for us to know. Somebody.
You're all right. Go ahead. Go ahead there.
All right. I'm all for CWI. I did not vote for the bond because the $78 million in interest that would be thrown away. It seems logical that a levy would give us the money that we need and not be taking as much from the taxpayer. I mean, I just can't see throwing away $78 million.
Did you hear that okay?
I did.
Okay. Going over here? I feel a little like Monty Hall. Let's make a question.
I am all for CWI also. I work at Micron. I'm the one who arranges all the classes out at the Micron site. I voted against it because of the location. I don't think 10 acres is a big enough space to start a community college that's going to grow and grow and grow. It's not big enough.
Okay. Space, money, interest. Anybody else while we're going? I'll come back to you. You guys want to take that while we think it? So interesting, space. And I just want to jump on your question. Land's a finite commodity. There's only so much available. I think that's a very good point. If we're really planning 10 years, 15, 20 years, what do we need? So let's...
But Mark, would you just maybe let people know how much space how many acres we have in Canyon County and how many acres we have in Ada County?
Sure, so there's 100 acres right here on this parcel that we own, right? Dedicated for education, all right? There's the new property downtown, it's 10 acres. The only other building that we own is the Micron building on a finite piece of ground and the Canyon County Center on the boulevard. So I think that's your point. If the growth is, and if we flip back through the slides and went, 53% of our students are from Ada County, is 10 acres enough? Am I paraphrasing your question enough? Okay.
So the board looked at many pieces of property in Ada County. And we had several things that we looked at. And we wanted to have a location that was convenient to the freeway, the connector. And again, we looked at several parcels, and it was like a 3-year process. When we looked at that property, the 10 acres, we realized that it was going to be a small parcel. However, it was going to be an urban campus with several high-rise buildings. Well, high-rise in the sense of Idaho. And eventually there'd be 3 buildings, and we had parking, we had a parking structure. So it was well designed, and so I'm not sure that answers your question, but I mean, we were very concerned at that time too. But I think that we had really good plans and vision how to serve that part of the valley.
The other thing I'd like to add, we know growth is coming, right? We know that this valley is just going to explode in growth, and the amount of students we're going to have to start serving is somewhere, is it 40,000 within the next 15 years? And so we're concerned about that too, right? We need to have a place to put these students, and we want to get out of these leases. We've got to do that so we can be sustainable. And so I'm trying to remember, in the eventual build out of that campus, Craig, was it 30,000 students we thought we could serve there, or was it 20? Just trying to remember. Yeah.
There you go.
Give you a little context. The current campus we're sitting on in Nampa, a little over 100 acres, is actually almost 135 acres. Contemplates about 1.2 million square feet in build out. The 10 acres down in Boise is zoned C5, which is the highest zoning allowed by the city of Boise. That plan provides for up to 640,000 square feet. So it gives you an idea of density and what density might mean. Almost half in 10 acres versus what could be contemplated on a much bigger parcel. So we're really talking about the difference between an urban campus, being in downtown Boise, high density, versus a suburban campus. The number of students at that bigger 640,000 square foot build out is probably going to approach about 30,000 students at some point in time. And the question is the timeline that would take us to that place, hence why we contemplated a phased development on that site. But a very different approach to a campus build out than what is probably traditional by most institutions.
Let me
You know,
ask.
if I can just respond to that as well, I want to say I think for CWI and for the trustees, it's a very moving target. When you look at the statistics that we present, we see there are a lot of more online classes. More people are taking courses without ever going on to a campus property. So I think we have to be really tuned into that and be very visionary and not stick in what we know now based on statistics. So I think it is a moving target. And I do know that there's not a lot of people in the room tonight that are not affiliated with the college, but I want to say I really appreciate those that are not coming. And I do think we need to go back. We need to always look at the decisions we've made and go back and say, is there a better way to fund what we're doing? And is there a better way to look at things we're doing too? And I think one of the, hopefully we would have had a better turnout and more community involvement, and I think we need to continue to work on that, because we need to hear your voices and know that those are concerns. But we also need to be able to tell you that when we don't know, we don't know. And I don't think I think in this world where technology is changing so quickly, we don't know what's happening with with community colleges. What we do know, though, I think, is that from a standpoint of professional, technical, and skill training, that those will always need to have facilities in which they can be operated, where students can go and do welding, do all those services. Those will never go online. And so I think that needs to be a big factor in our approach forward. So I appreciate your comments, and also on the levy. I think that was.
Let me pick up a point, and let's kind of take it from there about online and where we're going, because I know as all of us talk with friends and neighbors at various events, a lot of times we hear, well, you know, it's online, right? You don't need a building for that. And what I generally struggle with is, not struggle, but I don't communicate very well, is, well, all that stuff has to originate somewhere. Right? That originates in a classroom like this. Now, yes, you can originate a lot more content out of a single classroom, but you still have to have those buildings. It takes a lot of people to support technology. I mean, here's a good example of what we got tonight, right? We have, yeah, you can put it up on your phone and it can go over the World Wide Web. We got to have a couple people running microphones and lights and, you know, making sure that the bandwidth is all there, right? And the kids aren't sucking up the internet at home so we can't get on and see what we need to see. That all takes support and people, and it takes money. So as we have that in mind going forward, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and we're trying to plan in many times for programs and degrees that don't even exist yet, and we're trying to plan facilities for those, I think that becomes a challenge. For you as board members, I guess, I'd love to hear your thoughts as we're thinking not what's right in front of the car right now, but what's a quarter mile down the road. Emily touched on it. You know, we're looking at 40,000 students in the next 20 years. As we're going forward, what are thoughts on how we position ourselves to make sure that we're going to get there?
Mark, I want to just diverge for a second.
Sure.
I don't think we answered your question satisfactorily. That 10-acre parcel, what would you think? What do you think we should do for our Ada County facility? I'd really like to hear your ideas.
Well, I think that urban is fine, but traffic in that area is terrible. I see that as really adding to an already serious traffic problem. You can hardly get through there sometimes. I personally thought it would be better if it wasn't in downtown Boise. As far as being close to the connector and the freeway, I think wherever you build, there will be roads built for people to get there, because you're the big draw. You're going to be the big draw. It just seemed that 10 acres just was not enough to expand. It felt a little bit like Ada County is the biggest provider of the funding. We have more people here. We have more people that want to go, and we get 10 acres. It just didn't seem to be, and granted, you may have thought all of that. I didn't see that. I didn't see any of the statistics about how many students you were expecting, how many you thought you could accommodate. So it just looks on the surface like this little postage stamp for Ada County.
So if we, it seems that we did not necessarily develop our plan, but I don't think we publicized it better, or I'm not sure that we let people, I don't think people knew what our plans were for that downtown property. And I think we need to do more homework to make sure people understand what the vision was and is.
That could be.
Okay. Okay. I really appreciate your question, and that we will think about that. So.
We have the gentleman back here in the sport coat.
Let me just, I just wanted to clarify something about the online services. The largest community college deliverer of online services, Maricopa Community College in Phoenix, Arizona, and they have a city block 5-story building to support their 40,000 students that they deliver to online. So online does need facilities. It's not just in the cloud or around. And Craig just Googled and wanted to clarify, Boise's budget is $448 million.
Told you.
448.
I would answer your very first question around why didn't the bond pass, and I think we're getting to what my answer would be for that, which is not enough communication. So in that light, I really appreciate that you're doing this, because I look at that schedule and I know you have day jobs, and so really thank you, because while you've advertised it as a listening tour, everything we do to get out into the community is going to increase that communication. And so we'll have those avenues by which we can share the information that's then going to help us get those yes votes. I wanted to also ask other ways that you might help to get the name of CWI into our community. And I think our accreditation is a huge opportunity to do that. We will be so much better positioned to serve the students of this valley. Some of the concerns they may have had early on about the degrees not being the best fit, or don't actually finish your degree because you don't need all those classes. Well, today, in fall, you will, because we've written them to be what you need in this area. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts. We don't have to move there immediately, but around how to really get the word out that we are now this valley's community college.
Mark, why don't you take that one?
Well, I was going to say, we just hired Mark Browning to get the word out.
Okay, I'll pay you later for the setup question. So I looked at her and I said thank you for the question. I looked down here and you guys are all looking back at me like, well, what are you going to do? So I think just what we're doing tonight, it is really hand to hand. In an age where we're more connected, how many people are tweeting or Facebooking in here right now besides Zach? Right? Checking our phones, doing stuff, right? Something's happening because my backside is blowing up, right? I know something's going on somewhere. We're more connected than ever, right? We tweet more, we post more, but I think we communicate less. We spew. Whatever little thought comes into our brain, be it really the right thing to put out there or not, we put it out there because that's now our world. But I think it's this kind of communication. It's old school. And maybe that's because I'm old school. But I think it's more effective. And if we really sit down and look at things where the people who benefit, will benefit, and can benefit from CWI being here in this valley, those are the people we need to talk to. It's moms and dads, it's grandmas and grandpas, it's kids in middle school. Let's go have a one-to-one conversation with them. And if we got to knock on every door, that's what we'll do, because that's what we're charged to do.
May I speak to that issue as well? I just want to say, that luckily, or blessed in many ways, I was chairman of the board of the Nampa Chamber when we ran the petition to start the community college, and that was after 26 years of not being able to get it through the Idaho legislature. So I'm proud of the city of Nampa, and I'm proud of the Chamber of Commerce in Nampa for taking the initiative to start this college. But I will tell you, the reason it passed wasn't because we continued after 26 years to try to work with politically elected officials to make it happen. It was because we went out to the communities and we talked to them. I cannot tell you how many church socials I went to, how many senior citizen centers I went to, how many, if there were 3 people together, if they called me, I went out and I talked about a community college. And what made this community college work and made it pass wasn't just that we were talking about economic value, that we were talking about wages and resources that could be brought to the Ada County and Canyon County area that would increase wages, increase benefits, make people's lives, help them. But what really, really worked, and I'll say this from my own personal experience, and other trustees may disagree with this, but it was because senior citizens stepped up and said, I want my kids to be able to live in my community, and I want my grandchildren to be able to come over to my home. And we can't get good jobs here, we can't earn good wages, and they move out of this area. And then I have to communicate them with with on Facebook and computers, which I don't know how to do. So I remember one lady in particular who said, I don't have time to wait for you to bring economic value. I just want to know how to do Facebook. So can you create where seniors can learn how to do it so I can see pictures of my grandchildren? So I think it's not, these are always great things for us to do, and I hope we do more of them and do them more frequently. But I think it's in our everyday activity, how we interact with people in our community, because there's a reason why community colleges are called community.
Bert, you had a comment? You know, I'm happy that you all turned out tonight. I'm happy that people in Boise turned out. I want you to know that we advertised. We used a whole bunch of email services. We contacted elected officials throughout the valley, legislators, city councils, mayors, and so we are trying to reach out. But again, last night was one of our first steps. It's going to take time for us to, I guess people will start to realize that we are trying to reach out. I know when the college started, we did something, we called them community conversations. And I think we had, I remember one, there was like 400 people. And that was great. But I think that we need to reach out more and do better. I guess this is my thought. I'm not sure we have done a community conversation like this since we started.
Oh, we did with the superintendent's.
No, but I mean, yeah, we've tried to target some, audiences like superintendents of schools, but for us to reach out to the community, we haven't done that very well. And so this is going to be a process, and we need to do this more often rather than like every 8 years.
So I've got a topic I'd love to talk about. Let's talk about healthcare. We've heard of all kinds of healthcare over the last 7 years, right? A couple of presidents have taken a stab at it. Depending on what side of the street you live on and where you buy your groceries, that will, you'll have your opinion of that. My question is this: how important is healthcare? I got a thumbs up over here. Okay. Yeah, important. Healthcare is one of the things that the college has identified as health sciences as our #1 need in terms of what business and industry is telling us. So I'll flip back through the slides, right? And we talked about 37 different advisory groups, 300 and some odd different business folks that are involved. A lot of Micron people are involved. A lot of people from the hospitals and healthcare, right? That are telling us healthcare. Whether they work in that industry or not, it's healthcare. Why? Because employees need and want healthcare. That's how it works in our country. So, what do we need for healthcare? We need doctors. We need nurses. We need phlebotomists, right? We need the person to check us in, make sure we got all of our insurance stuff, right? Name of your firstborn, right? Title to your car and your mom's car, right? So you can get in. There's all these support positions. And are we currently supplying what the industry needs here? And the answer is no. So let's talk about a health science building, because that's kind of where we started with all of this, was facilities, right? What goes on the 10 acres? What goes on the 100 acres? Trustees, as I understand, have said health science is our #1 priority, right? We have a lot of need industries. Your industry at Micron's a huge need, right? We need programmers. We need system analysts. We need all kinds of that kind of stuff. We need healthcare. Right now, we're going to say healthcare is our biggest need. That's the building we've got to build. We have to prioritize them. That's where it's at. So I would love to hear some ideas on how we're going to come up with $43 million to build a health building, because that's what Uncle Craig tells me it's going to take. It's $43 million right out here.
Mark, can I just ask a question before you get into that? I just want to know, does everybody in this room agree that health sciences and health care would be the number one, if CWI had a priority in terms of creating a program, that that's what it should be? Does anybody disagree with that? I just want to make sure we're all on the, oh, there's a question. There's an answer there.
There we go.
I'm not sure it's on, actually.
Yep, there you go.
While there may be other programs that have equal need in industry, in terms of facilities, health science is the one that's going to require the facilities. I can offer a business program in a lot of different modalities much more easily than I can offer a microbiology lab. So that's why I would say in terms of facilities, health science is definitely the priority.
Other thoughts while we got the microphone out here? Yep, we got one right over here. There we go.
Well, beyond the cost of building the building, how much is it going to cost to staff it and run it?
Ooh.
That's for Bert to answer.
Actually, staffing is already there. What we were talking about was, what we were talking about as the health science facility was consolidating all of our health science programs across Ada and Canyon County, putting them in one building so we'd have synergism by having all the programs in the same place. When you talk about staffing, staffing's there, but it's strung out all over Ada and Canyon County. And the hospitals have even talked to us about the fact that we need synergy. We need them all in one place where we get synergism out of that effort. And the hospitals we're in conversations with both the major hospital, West Valley, St. Luke's, St. Al's. To us, it's a major issue to get all of the healthcare services inside of one facility where we can get maximum synergism out of that process. So once the building's up, it's not a problem staffing it. The staff's strung out all over 9 different buildings right now. It'd be less than what we're paying in leases right now. Yeah. And quite frankly, Craig's faced with, in the next year, we negotiated all the leases at $2 million plus in 2008.
The bottom of the market.
Bottom of the market.
Yeah.
If you look around, we know that we're going to get hit 19, 20? 19, we're going to get hit with all brand new leases at a much higher rate than what we're paying now. If we were able to go out and start building those buildings, we would be saving money, literally saving money to the taxpayers that we're now going to be engaged in. It's going to cost more to operate.
I know some people were against offering up a levy versus a bond, but you had over 50% voting for a bond, and that was a huge chunk of change. A levy would look much smaller. It would actually be less money coming out of my pocket every year, and you could compare this to other community colleges. College of Southern Idaho, yeah, in Twin Falls, they only have like 2,000 students, right? Right. And
well,
Yeah.
okay, but they're taxed quite highly. I mean, like $95 out of 100,000, right, where we're at what, $14? Yeah. And no one expected this college to grow the way it did. So it's not like you're going, oh, you know what, we're going to trick you into giving us a college, and now we're going to pump up the bill. You know, you grew so fast. No one expects you to get by with the money you initially asked for when you expected 1,200 students. I really think that you could get a levy. I just couldn't see asking for $280 million and then me paying another $78 million so you can have it. I don't mind giving you the $280 million.
180 million.
What was it, 180? Yeah, yeah, sorry.
Price is going down all the time.
Yeah. But, and that's not like it's not a tax. I would be 70 years old by the time that got paid off. It basically is a lifelong tax. So I really think a levy is the way to go. I think you could sell it. You just need to advertise it, throw some numbers up there. The people that voted this college in existence would say, yes, we wanted this college. Yes, we need to fund it. It grew like crazy. People wanted it. People are using it. I think they'll pay for it.
And just so you know, we are looking at all of those options, including a levy. We just, you know, at this point, we're trying to figure out what the voters would support. But we're also, fine tuning our plans. Like we do know the health sciences building, right over here, the vacant lot over here, that is our biggest need. And so we're just trying to fine tune those plans. But yes, we're looking at everything, including a levy.
So there's levies, there's bonds, there's public-private partnerships, funding from the state, there's private contributions, there's Mitch's group with the foundation that is standing at the ready to do capital campaigns. There's all kinds of a different mix. So thoughts on one versus the other? I know levy is certainly an option. What are thoughts about public-private partnerships? Anybody?
Yeah, partnerships with the hospitals, I would think they would really want to help since it's going to benefit them.
Okay.
Yep, we've
good
been talking to them.
Okay.
I
like it.
Go on, Mark, and I want to add a perspective thing I'm seeing. We're kind of talking around.
No, you're all right.
So, we, like Trustee Nyland said, we should have had a community college in the 70s. That would have been a very smart thing for this valley to do. They didn't. Put it off 25, 30 years, and now we're in this crunch, right, where we've got these 24,000 students, and we're looking at each other going, how do we accommodate this? And so taxes that could have been assessed and built up very slowly and building slowly over time, over 30 years, didn't happen. And so now we're in this crunch where we've got all these students and we're trying to take care of this big issue all at once. And so, I think I've talked to a lot of community members about this, and sometimes partly because they just haven't understood the situation we're in or the historical perspective, right? They a little, I don't blame them for it, but they a little bit act like we've somehow gotten ourselves into some situation that we should not have. And it's like, well, no, we're truly just trying to make sure these students can get the education they need and trying to figure out this big puzzle piece that if we had started 30 or 40 years ago, we wouldn't be in a situation trying to fit it all in at this point. And I'm happy, I think we're happy to try to solve the problem, but it is definitely harder to do it now, I think.
One of the big things that came out of the recession, and I'm stalling a little bit until you get the microphone, but not really. We should add this in the presentation. There's a slide that the group Idaho Business for Education has, and I think I'll call Rod Grammer and see if he'll give me the slide. What was one of the biggest things that came out of the recession, other than the housing bust, right, and lower housing values? It was absolute concrete evidence that the more education a person had, the more employable they were. Throughout the recession, there were jobs available for people. Mobility was an issue, and education level was an issue. And what we found is the demographic that had a high school, had some high school, didn't complete, boy, they got hammered in the recession. They were the first to go. High school completion lost a lot of ground. If you had a 2-year degree or certificate, you actually increased your value during the recession. That's why we're here. And that's why we had so many students streaming in the door, because people saw it. Hey, there's jobs out there. I just need training. You know what? I went to college and I got a degree in X, but now I need Y. And we talk about millennials all the time. All the data is showing that they'll have 5 to 6 careers, not job changes, careers. They'll go from a biologist to a journalist, right? It's going to be crazy. So, did I take all of your good material? No. Oh.
CWI started in '07, and it was, the support was incredible. We had no idea in 2 years we'd have so many students. We've had problems with infrastructure. That's why we have this building, we have the Canyon County Center, we have the Micron Center, and that's all we have, right?
That's it.
That we own. The rest, they're all leased. Last night, there was a historic vote in Eastern Idaho. There's now going to be a College of Eastern Idaho. The difference is they already have a full-blown campus with buildings and facilities and infrastructure, and we didn't have that, and we still don't have it. So I'm just saying that we still need more financial support to serve our students. I think the population figures are saying that in about like 10 years, we're supposed to serve 40,000 students. How many leases are we going to have until we build a building, or 2 or 3? So that is one of our biggest dilemmas. Is you know, I applaud the new college in Eastern Idaho. In fact, I've tried to help along the way, but they have all the facilities, and we still don't.
So as we move forward talking about facilities and how to fund them, we've got an idea that an operational levy could help, with an idea that we would set aside a portion of that revenue stream for capital reserve. Other ideas that are out there, other than just get it done because our kids and our grandkids need it? See some head nods. So we talked a little bit about healthcare. What other fields are out there that need addressing? Any ideas?
Technology.
Zach in the back, for those at home, says technology.
Zach in the back.
Zach in the back. Technology. It's a wonderful thing, but it changes so quickly. Do you know now there will be degree programs for jobs that don't exist today in 5 years? We've got to figure out how to address those. Talk about a challenge when you show up at the door every day, right? Yeah, it's a good one. Other ideas?
I have another question, not an idea. I have no ideas, I just have questions. But I just wondered, because we know in Idaho that go-on rates are still low, and we don't have a lot of, we're low and nationally, and kids that are completing college, going on to college and completing. And I just wonder, off the top of your heads, if any of you could just say why you think that is true.
Go-on rates low. Why do our kids graduate high school at one of the higher rates in the country, but they don't end up here at Boise State, Idaho State, schools to the north? No offense, Mitch, I know you're a warrior. Why don't they go? Gentleman in the sport coat is forming a thought.
There are a few of us that wore our CWI shirts.
This is not the total answer of why they don't go on, but there's a huge segment of our population in Ada and Canyon County, larger population in Canyon County of Hispanics. And I'll refer to Dr. Custer, who made this statement at the Higher Ed Task Force last week. He said that he went out to, was it Middleton? Melba. He was invited to go visit Melba. He took his registrar and his advisor counselor. The three of them went to Melba to talk to a group of 40 Hispanic students who had the grade point average and fully qualified to go to BSU. He said none of them were planning on going on to higher ed. None of them. Because and he said, I spend more time selling CWI because it's a third the cost of what the university is. And he said even then, none of them were planning on going on because there was no value system in place in that it was too expensive, not even knowing that there was Pell Grants and there were all kinds of ways to fund it. But the community, of that portion of the community, had it wasn't in their value system to even going on. I think one of the things that we constantly find in a 40-year trend, that doesn't explain the go-on rate in Idaho, why it's so low, but you will find fluctuation. There's an inverse relationship between jobs and going on to school. And quite frankly, with 3% unemployment, that's full employment, and anybody that wants a job anybody that wants a job is working. So typically, most of our students are working and going to school because they see the value of value additive education. But until we hit another recession, which we are the fastest growing community college in the history. And if we hit another recession, which the economists are saying third quarter of 2018, we will have another influx of students. We will. because the jobs will start to dry up and they will be asking for more skilled labor. The question is, are we going to be able to handle it when it happens?
Good question. Thoughts from anyone, whether you're at the front table or not? Yes. Let's get back here to the coach. Hang on. You're going to get a, okay. I'm going to come around on this other side here by Frank.
Just piggybacking on Bert's point of value, these past 2 weeks we've done a number of graduate spotlights, with commencement being last Saturday. And it's a common theme was finding value in education, but they found it later in life. I don't know why. I don't know that that's unique to Idaho. It's probably somewhat unique to community college demographic, but they do find value. But in talking about the go-on rate, for some reason, they don't value it, maybe not right after high school, but definitely later in life. And for some, it was later 20s, later 30s, even mid-40s. When they get out in the workforce, then they really do value education. So how do we change that curve to value it sooner?
Good question. Any ideas? Our oldest graduate was 68 years old at commencement the other day. And the youngest was 16.
So I have one idea about that. You know, when I go out and talk with community members about community colleges and what we do, they're surprised to learn about our workforce development, about our tech programs, about the hands-on stuff that we teach students to do. And so I grew up in a family where they did not value college. I got my GED at 28, so this idea of valuing education later. I only got my GED 10 years ago. I graduated from Boise State, and I'm on the board because education made such an enormous difference in my life, and it mattered so much to me. And so, but growing up, I thought of college as something that rich kids did, something that they left the state, and they went and lived in this like beautiful campus somewhere, and paid lots of money to go to school for 4 years, and it was a fun time, right? That was not accessible to me. I didn't even have the money to like get to that other state, whatever state that would have been, right? And so, yeah, and this, I mean, obviously is a tall order. I don't know how we do it, but helping people understand that college is a lot of different things. College can be coming here and getting a 9-month technical certificate, and that can make an enormous difference in your future. Or you can come here and just get your basic ed degree, and that will serve you even if you never go on and get your 4 years. And so helping people think through what college is and think through the differences that the degree offerings can be here. And it's not just this one image that sticks out that seems impossible to access for poorer students.
You know, we talk about culture change a lot, right? Within a workplace, within an organization, but if you look at the state and this valley as a large culture and organization, we really need a culture change in terms of what we really value. We're a state that values hard work, fair ethics, right? Treat everybody fairly. We're a state that wants to do it ourselves, right? We don't like a lot of outside intrusion, right? We're going to figure it out. Well, we need to figure this out. And the key is education, because it will change people's lives. It's changed mine. It's changed every person's in here. To whatever degree we've pursued, it changes our lives because it gives us a perspective on things. We have, for years, had an adequate economy that has been serviced by positions that didn't require a ton of education outside of on-the-job training. But if you look at even those hands-on industries that now absolutely require training, look at mining, all right? Mining is typically in kind of the north central and northern part of the state where a lot of those repositories are. Those jobs are now highly technical. And what's happened is where before they would send a crew of 100 miners in, they now have 15. But they're extracting more mineral than they ever did before. Lumber and logging is the same way. We're producing more board feet lumber in this state than we ever have with fewer people because it's highly mechanized, right? Agriculture, oh my goodness, right? Our number one industry in the state is ag. The farmer now monitors on his phone and makes calculations on water consumption of his crops and needs, and then alters his irrigation, his pivot, from his phone. What are the skills that he needs? He needs analytical skills. He needs science. any of these economics. Before, as a kid, you know how we figured out if the crops needed water? Dad and I got out of the truck and walked up and down the row and went, yeah, it looks a little dry, let's turn a little more water down there. That doesn't cut it anymore. We're in a very specialized society that we've got to reinforce the value of what education can deliver. If for nothing more, it's an economic imperative. So, Chair, I'm looking at the clock. I think they've stopped taking tickets at the door. So who we have here is who we have. So I'm thinking if you guys have some closing thoughts, if there's one final question here.
I do want to, talking about the go on rate. Part of it, we have a Hispanic initiative. We are trying to reach out to underserved populations. I think people are nervous to even walk into the door. So that is a challenge for us as trustees. That's a challenge for our staff. I think it's a challenge in the whole valley for us to serve the underserved. And I would really like to ask you, what do you think we should do to help the people that feel that they can't go to college? Echoing Emily's comments.
How do we make it less intimidating to even come through the door and ask the question? Is that fair to ask? Young lady in the UW purple.
So this is where the community piece comes in, and just like you're doing, to take these out into the community and to be where the people are, we bring the college to the people. I think our outreach team does an amazing job of getting into the high schools. Our dual credit teachers and mentors do a great job of saying, you've started your college journey already. Our online education takes education where we couldn't build a building. So we're definitely doing the things that get us there. Culture change is slow. You know, I love that innovation is the I that you've got behind you there, community workforce and innovation. And I think we have some really amazingly innovative members of our team here at CWI. And so I guess I want to end with a really positive note. Like, it is such an honor to be part of this college. And I listen to the challenges we face and, you know, the uphill battle that we still have ahead of us. But when we have done it, we get to look back and be part of what made the difference here. And I think that's why we keep doing it. I've been here since 2009, various roles, and yeah, it's a lot of work, and there's so much more to do, but what an awesome thing to be a part of. And so I think that culture is going to spread, slowly maybe, but it will spread.
Thank you, that's a great comment.
We're getting an online question here, but my glasses are down front, so.
I'll read it for Mark.
Great, thank you.
All right, so we have an online question that came in. Wondering how the new community college in Eastern Idaho could potentially affect future enrollment of CWI. Anybody have ideas on that?
Oh, that's a very good question. Here.
I think Bert has an answer.
Bert's got an answer to this. I love it. There you go.
Community colleges are community colleges. And Eastern Idaho, it's great, and I hope that they have the same kind of success rate. Well, actually, I don't hope they have the same kind of success rate that we did. That would crush a lot of schools. As a startup college, which there's very few of, we are experiencing chaos every day. What you have and what Mark brought up, what President Dunham brought up earlier was the college in Eastern Idaho is already a full campus, fully established, full infrastructure, everything's in place. And the population base around there will determine how fast they grow and how quick they grow. It'll have, I would venture a guess, that'll have little to no impact on CWI. And part of that's because we know that community colleges literally are built around the communities. The Northwest Accrediting Association, when we went back and talked to them, they said, where did these 24,000 students come from? I mean, what were they doing before? Well, they were in the community, and they were not going on, and they had no hope and no vision and no opportunity to go on. So what we provided by the CWI becoming established in this community, there all of a sudden was opportunity, which created huge hope and huge a chance for them to develop. I hope the same thing happens in Idaho Falls, in eastern Idaho. But it will be, and we know that a success rate of a student is within 15 miles of the campus. There's a huge success rate for students. You get outside of that 15 miles, and then it diminishes, the success rate for students. I don't see that the brand new community college in eastern Idaho will have any effect on CWI's growth or development. What we are addressing is we're looking at statistics that show that the valley is about 660-some thousand now. And if you can see the building and the subdivisions that are being built, we are anticipating that we will be at 1.3 million in a short period of time here. If we continue to just serve 3% of the population, we'll be well over 40,000 by the time we hit that mark. So, and that's, I don't think, I wish the best of success to the college in eastern Idaho, but I don't think it'll have any impact on what happens to CWI.
If I could just make one comment on that as well, I just want to remind people again that when we created CWI, no one was more supportive of that than Bob Custer and Boise State University, and they used it as they saw it as an opportunity for CWI to step in and take over some functions and some classes and some programs that they offered that would allow them to become more of a research university, and that's exactly what happened. So I think the same thing has a potential to happen in eastern Idaho with ISU now stepping in and being able to develop some programs that they want to when they're able to spin off some of those programs that are more appropriate in a community college.
Very good. Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn the balance of the time back over to you. Thank you for being here and participating in a little discussion. Our chair will have some final thoughts, and like a very good instructor near the end of the term, when it's still daylight outside, we'll get out just a couple minutes early to tease you. 5 minutes early? No, 5 cookies on the way out. Oh, and everybody has to take 5 cookies on the way out.
I thought Bert was going to have 5 more questions. Well, on behalf of the board, and thank you, and the staff and the president, thank you for coming tonight. It's very valuable to us. It is supposed to be a listening session, and I really believe that you gave us some really good ideas, and we're going to do this more often. It's not going to be another 8 years. So thank you so much for coming, and good night.